Hey there. Welcome back. I'm Amy Evans. I coach CEOs, founders, and sales leaders on how to grow their revenue and their careers. And this is Women in Sales Leadership, which is a show built for leaders who are trying to grow their high-performing results and themselves at the same time. Today is going to be a quick one, and you're going to understand why in just a minute. And that is, I am talking about the courage that it takes to make a change, to bet on yourself and make a leap forward, because it is so personal for me right now. I just posted about this on LinkedIn this week, and you would not believe the feedback that I got from leaders who are sitting there in the middle of a pivot or getting ready to make a change, and they're trying to figure it out. And I'm in this too. So what is more appropriate? Every single time I have been sitting in front of an opportunity, a choice to make a change, there has been one thing that has been persistent and there every single time, and that is fear. Fear. And the fear never, ever goes away. I mean, you hear Michelle Obama talk about the fact that fear never goes away. Forget your political affiliation. Like, if the First Lady of the United States, who is a, highly Ivy League trained and educated lawyer and a absolute powerhouse of a leader in her own right, is still struggling with fear, the fact that you might be or I might be puts me at ease. So the minute that we recognize that having that nervousness, that fear about making a change is there, and just say, okay, I'm going to be scared. There is nothing wrong with it. Oh man, it reminds me of that what you resist persists saying, which is so freaking annoying because it's true. What you resist persists. The more you resist the fear, the more you are freaked out, the more it's just going to be there. And I'm not saying that just like if you pretend it away or accept it, that somehow resolves, because goodness knows I've tried all that stuff. And here's what's changing. Here's what's changing for me. And I want to talk about what's probably changing for you, or what could be changing for you. And what's changing for me is that I'm making a pivot. When I started my journey in launching my own business, and I had this vision of supporting sales leaders, and that is never going to change because that's going to be core to what I do. But what happened along the way was I also got asked by founders and CEOs to help them grow their businesses. And initially, I looked at those requests and I was scared. I was scared to do those projects because I had these stories in my head about how it was going to take me back to working in corporate. And I was going to be in the same situations that I was in corporate. So that's like a made up story, not reality, but it's what my imagination was telling me was going to happen if I started working with CEOs and founders. And then, like most things in life, and I know, like, we are in charge of impacting results. Like, no amount of like sitting around and wishing or hoping or manifesting changes that, right? Like, we know that the one thing that we have to do every day is like get up and go do. Get up and go do. And however, there are times, and this has likely happened with you too, where something has chased you or come at you and exposed itself to you, not in a weird way, but in a cool way, right? And the only way I have to equate this is, any of us who have been responsible for revenue, and I know you are, and it's like the minute you start to take action, the minute you start to do stuff and you start to make progress and get on the phone and go see the client or go see the prospect or go to the conference or take the call from the recruiter or put your resume together, whatever change it is that you're trying to impact for yourself, the minute you start to get in action, whatever you call it, I don't know what your spirituality is. I was raised Episcopalian, but my spirituality is different from that now. It's always grounded in Christianity. But, I do believe whatever your word is, if it's God, if it's the universe, if it's source, what have you, right? Um, the minute that you start, and you've seen this for yourself, the minute you start to do stuff, all of a sudden things start to happen. But it never happens until you start to do. The doing is absolutely required. And so what happened for me was I had a CEO reach out to me. This was 2 years ago. And he wanted help to help get his messaging down. He wanted help with his, initial presentation of how he went to market to sell. He's an engineer by training and had this great product. And he wanted help to sell his first deals. And I thought, well, I don't really want to be a salesperson again, but I sure do love helping people with strategy. I sure do love, and I'm talented and gifted at, I won't lie, like I'm owning it right now. So if it sounds like bragging, it's just what's so for me. There are about 1 billion things that I suck at, but there are a few things I'm amazing at. And messaging, connecting the dots, positioning, putting together strategy, those are all things that I can just do. If you ask me how I did them, I can break down the steps that I go through, but it's just the way my mind works. So I came in, I did that first consulting engagement for that CEO, and it was a great experience. And then I had another CEO reach out to me and say, Amy, I'd really like for you to help me. And I talked to him a few times, and after I tried to say no a couple of times, not because of any reason, like not because I didn't like him, not because I didn't think that he had a great business, not because I didn't think I could help him. I just wasn't ready to acknowledge that I was going to put myself back in the situation of like being a sales leader or a sales advisor because I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what it would feel like. I didn't know what it would be like. There were all these unknowns. And so much of me just wanted to have certainty, right? We all want certainty. Like, I don't want to talk to this. I talk to so many sales leaders who have this, where, a recruiter reaches out or they know that they're ready to leave their current job. And before they even get on the phone or take the phone call or take the meeting or respond to the DM, they're already imagining like if that job is going to work out for them or not, right? Like our imaginations just go, baby. We can't stop them, but there's something we can do to catch ourselves and say, what's real and what's not real? What are we imagining? This like worst case scenario of why it's not going to work versus what if it did work? What if it was awesome? Because the only time you have to make a decision is when somebody presents an opportunity to you straight in front of your face and says, would you like to do this? And would you like to be paid for it? And would you like to change what you're doing right now or come work for me or take on this project or whatever it is? The CEO pursues me. I finally, like through my thick skull, I'm like, maybe I should talk to this guy and see if I can help him. And we spoke a couple of times. And I looked at him and I said, I know I can help you. And I was scared. I was scared because this leader was putting his business in my hands. And the kind of nervousness that I had was the kind that I'd never had before when I was working in corporate. I always knew that we led the spirit. We were leading the company. I knew people's jobs depended on us. The livelihoods of like a whole company really is hinging on one thing, and it's the sales team, right? Like we don't just have responsibility to ourselves and our families and our financial obligations. Like we are carrying the back of a company on our shoulders by being responsible for delivering the growth, the lifeblood that a company needs. And so I was nervous. I'm like, oh God, if I screw this up for this guy, and then I had to talk to myself because I talk to myself a lot. A lot of what I do is I coach leaders, I coach CEOs, and I have to coach myself. And I have a coach as well. But one thing I've gotten better at over the past year and a half is coaching myself. And the one thing I looked at myself and I just was honest. I said, I know I can help him. I know I will. And so I said yes. And we started this project of this journey. And for 3 months, I worked with the CEO. And uh, 60 days in, I shocked the hell out of both of us by finding that 80% of his revenue was coming from this one partner. And the one partner in order to get the deal with the partner, he'd given him this smoking deal on his hourly rates. Like he was subcontracting to this partner. And the hourly rates were so below market, like awful below market. And I looked at him, I said, you have got to renegotiate this deal. And then I prepped him for how to renegotiate, how to run that full negotiation. And he went in, and in 60 days, there was an overall 16% uplift of the total revenue for his company off of that one negotiation. One negotiation did that. And then there were all these other things I did. I helped his team and his delivery team be able to help identify opportunities with their existing customers so they could have more add-on business and they could expand their projects with their customers who love them. I helped them figure out how to ask for referrals from their existing clients so that they could grow their business that way. And then also I created a partner strategy so that he could work to get a little bit less of his or of overall revenue from this beholden to this one specific partner to diversify the revenue source from other places. All of this in 3 months. And, I went to him and I always do this for all of the clients that I work with, for all of the CEOs, for the sales leaders that I work with. I have a debrief session. I want to know what went well, what they wish would gone differently. And I really invite them. I'm like, please, please, please tell me the truth because I'm here to get better. I'm here to do excellent work. And the only way I can do that is if you tell me what you wish would have gone better or differently. And if there's something that I need to fix, like, let me know. So I got on this feedback call with the CEO and he said, Amy, you're not going to be very happy with me. And I said, what do you mean? What's going on? And he said, well, I know you want to get information out of this call that will help you with things that should have gone better or differently or that you should improve because I can't think of anything. And I pushed him. I said, no, that's not true. Come on, stop being so nice because he's a very, very kind human being and a delightful, delightful human being. I said, you've got to be like, please, please don't be so kind. Please, the kindness you can do is just like, tell me what you wish I did differently or what's, something I can use. And he said, I got nothing. And I looked back, I hung up that call and I stay in touch with all of my clients. And I've touched base with them since then. And it turns out that the thing that I was really scared to do, the thing that I thought would take me back to a place I didn't want to be, that put me into a situation where I was so responsible. I was always responsible, by the way, but where I was so responsible for the outcomes. And he told me I did a great job. And he had the business results to prove it. And then another CEO reached out. And so here I am in the midst of this moment with you all. You're like, where is this going, Amy? Where this is going is I'm shifting what I'm doing. But there's also going to be some things that won't change. And what is changing is I'm focusing my business fully on founders and CEOs and consulting them so that they can set up sales organizations that really do work and put themselves in a position of hiring or coaching up their sales leaders and sales organizations so that they have the kind of leadership that you have to have, a high trust, high performing team in order to really have growth in your business. And I share all this with you because So many, when I posted about pivoting earlier this week, um, so many people came back to me and said, I'm also thinking about a pivot. And I'm going to give you a couple of quotes that might help you think through what you want to do or take action. So let me pull these up so that I can read them and get them right. I don't want to mess it up. So, this is oh, what, my favorite. Look, I mean, if you haven't read, let me hold it up. If you haven't read Strong Ground, it's a little blurry. If you haven't read Strong Ground by Brene Brown, oh, please either read it or listen to it. It's so freaking powerful. In fact, her whole library, if you're not a Brene person, become one, because there's so much to be gotten from her. So Brene says, when we're in these moments of like choosing a change or choosing a pivot, and what am I going to focus on? She says it so well. She says, quote, we can either choose courage or we can choose comfort, but we can't have both, not at the same time. Oh, like, it's so freaking harsh, but true, and beautiful and true. And then, look, there's some research. If that's not good enough, there's some research. I was like, okay, maybe we need some data. Like, what's the data say? You already know what the data says because you don't need it. But for my people who love to have data, I'll give it to you. The research out of Cornell on regret, it says short term, we regret our mistakes short term. But in the long term, it's the opposite. It's always the opposite. We regret the things that we didn't do, the move that we were so scared to make. So if you let your fear win today, you're not staying safe. You're not. You're just setting an appointment with yourself for regret later. I think one of the challenges of being a high-performing leader and a high-performance person is that we hold ourselves to such high standards. And that's great for us. It's like both our strength and our weakness all at the same time, right? We don't give ourselves credit when we do good things, right? There's always the never enough. And then this is the part that I think can get everyone, not just women. It's this perfection moment. It's got to be perfect. It's this fear of looking bad. It's this fear of looking like an idiot, or belief that, first of all, that anybody's even watching you. I mean, some people are watching you, they are. And sometimes, I hope the people that you love in your life are definitely watching you. But fully, and this is so freeing, I'm going to say this with all the love, nobody cares. Nobody really cares what you're doing. The only person that it matters to and should matter to is you. It's your life. It's your business. It's your career. So if there's a change that is speaking to you in your heart that you need to make, whether it's in your business, whether it's in your career, whether it's in your personal life, how many more steins do you need? How much more waiting are you going to do? Right? And I'm saying this to me as much as I'm saying it to you. So that's the message for today. Take the action. There is something that needs to happen in your life. I promise you there is, because none of us who are trying to get out there and just like live our best lives and be our best selves, be our best version of ourselves, the best leader, the best, parent, the best whatever, right? None of us are willing to settle. And the sooner, and I'm getting better at this, but I don't have it nailed. I sure don't. But the sooner that we can look at the reality and say, okay, I've got to shift something. I've got to make a change. And that adjustment doesn't mean failure. It means progress. And the fear of making a mistake, I don't know. It's so easy for me to say this, I guess, but no. If you know in your heart it needs to happen, it's not a mistake. It's not. And if your logic side of the brain has run the numbers and you've decided that you need to move or not, it's not a mistake. Your brain will almost always try to talk you out of what your heart knows is real. And uh, this isn't something you can put on a forecast. You can't put this on a spreadsheet. It doesn't go in the goddamn CRM, you know? But it goes in the place of, I know what to do and I trust myself to do it because I know what's best for me and you do know what's best for you. And the only solution I know to feeling stuck or circling around something that you've been trying to think about and decide about, and I'm not sure, and put it off and put it off and put it off, the only cure is action. What do you need to take action on today, this week? What step are you going to make that takes you closer to getting what you want for yourself in your life, getting what you want for yourself in your business, getting what you want for yourself in your career? This is the request that I have for you today. Like, take this question on, and it's uncomfortable, baby. But you know what? You've been uncomfortable your whole life. You don't do comfortable things, or else you wouldn't be in this conversation right now, right? So this is where we're going. And you're going to get to see this conversation evolve. I will continue and always be a champion for sales leaders. In fact, I work with a very small cohort of sales leaders and even some individual contributors, coaching them through major transitions in their careers and even in how to be in sales as a sales leader and not lose your freaking mind and lose yourself in the process. So that's one level of coaching that I do. And what's fascinating is how that coaching translates to executive coaching for CEOs and founders, and coming in and diagnosing what's going on in their business, what's working, what's not working, where's revenue coming from, where's it need to come from, what's the lowest hanging fruit, how do we map a plan to get, from the gap of where they are now to where they want to be, right? And this works for you too, mapping the plan from where you are now to where you want to be. Because the one thing that I know is true is that you will get there. And what always, always, always distinguishes the reality of thinking is doing. Go do. I got you. If you're curious about what I'm doing or want to follow me on LinkedIn, feel free to do that. If someone needs to listen to this show today and you want to give it over to them as a gift, that is the biggest compliment that you could pay, is sharing this conversation with someone that you care about or respect. And if you want to check out what I'm doing, again, I am coaching CEOs, I'm coaching founders, I'm coaching sales leaders on how to elevate their revenue and their leadership all at one time. And I'm doing that as a fractional sales leader. I'm doing that as a go-to-market advisor. And the results that I've been producing are phenomenal for my clients. I love this work. It is so fulfilling to help people grow, to help businesses grow. And I love the impact that has on the world for creating jobs, creating great leaders who love their work, who are able to have a life and amazing jobs all in one. It is not a pipe dream. It is real. I'm making it work for people. And if you're curious, you want to come check it out. My company's name is Thrivail. I'm working on a change there too, so don't freak out. You can always find me on LinkedIn, Amy Evans on LinkedIn. Come find me in the DMs if you want to talk. about getting through a pivot or a change, growing your business, I will give you an hour of my time because I'm here for you. I'm committed to making an impact in the world, and so are you. Go get out there and make stuff happen today.